What would you do if a dying alien warned you not to trust anyone? For 14-year-old Harper Quinn, it wasn't a hypothetical. One moonlit night, she found a stranger with silver hair and violet eyes crumbling to ash in a ditch, leaving behind a crystal that pulses with secrets. Now, the sheriff's watching her. Her best friend's missing, and her mom's hiding a truth that could shatter their dusty desert town or save the world. But in Willow's End, trust is a weapon, and the stars are listening. Before we start, please, subscribe to the channel by clicking I button on top right corner and hit the notification bell so you can get daily stories at bedtime. Let's dive in the story. The wheels of my skateboard rattled against the cracked sidewalk as I sped home, the setting sun painting the sky in streaks of orange and purple. Mom would kill me if I missed dinner again, but the empty roads of Willow's End were too tempting to resist. I ollied over a pothole, my backpack bouncing, when a sharp crack echoed from the ditch behind old Mrs. Harlow's fence. I skidded to a stop, peering into the shadows. "Hello," I called out, my voice shaky. No answer, just the rustle of dry leaves. Probably a raccoon. But then I saw it, a flicker of silver, like someone had trapped a star in the weeds. My stomach twisted. "Don't be stupid, Harper," I told myself. But my feet moved anyway, crunching through the gravel toward the ditch. She lay curled on her side, her clothes torn and smeared with dirt. At first, I thought she was wearing some kind of glittery costume. Her hair wasn't silver, it was liquid metal, swirling faintly even though there was no wind. Cuts spiderwebbed across her arms, oozing something that shimmered like oil under a street lamp. When her eyes snapped open, glowing violet and wide as saucers, I stumbled back. "H. Harper Quinn," she gasped. Her voice sounded like whined through dead leaves, raspy and wrong. "How do you know my name?" I whispered, my heart jackhammering. The air smelled metallic, like a storm about to break. She coughed, iridescent droplets splattering the dirt. "No time, they're coming." Her hand shot out, fingers ice cold and too long, clamping my wrist. I tried to yank free, but her grip was iron. "Don't trust anyone," she hissed, her pupils contracting into slits. "Not even." A gurgle cut her off. Her body began to tremble, then blur like static on a TV screen. "Wait, not even who?" I begged, leaning closer. But her skin was crumbling, disintegrating into ash that swirled upward in a spiral. Within seconds, she was gone. All that remained was a jagged black crystal, warm and throbbing in my palm like a heartbeat. I shoved it into my hoodie pocket, my hands trembling. "This isn't happening. This isn't." A twig snapped behind me. "Who's out here?" barked a deep voice. Sheriff Voss's flashlight beam sliced through the dusk. I froze, the crystal burning against my leg. Just me, Sheriff," I stammered, stepping into the light. "Skateboarding." His eyes narrowed, lingering on my dirty knees. "You see anything weird, kid? Lights in the sky? Strangers?" And no, sir. The lie tasted sour. He stared a beat too long, then forced a smile. "Get on home. It's dangerous after dark." I didn't need telling twice. I raced back, the crystal pulsing faster with every step. By the time I reached my porch, my phone buzzed, a text from Jaden. "Dude, you gotta see this weird drone footage I caught. Looks like a meteor crashed near your house." I glanced back at the ditch, now swallowed by shadows. Somewhere in the distance, a dog howled. The crystal hummed, low and urgent, as if whispering secrets only I could hear. That night, I hid it under my pillow, but sleep wouldn't come. Every creak of the house made me jump. Around 3 a.m., I pulled out the crystal, its surface now flickering with tiny symbols. A triangle, an eye, something like a spiral galaxy. "What are you?" I muttered. As if answering, the symbols flared bright, casting jagged shadows on my wall. A voice, faint and echoey, seeped into my head. Not through my ears, but my bones. "They lied about your mother." I flung the crystal across the room. It hit the wall with a clink and went dark. Downstairs, the floorboards creaked. Mom was definitely asleep, right? But the house stayed silent. Too silent. And the crystal kept glowing. The next morning, I shoved the crystal into my backpack and pedaled my bike so fast to Jaden's house that my lungs burned. His room smelled like Doritos and solder, cluttered with half-built robots and Star Wars posters. He sat cross-legged on his bed, frowning at a disassembled drone, his NASA hoodie sleeves rolled up to reveal marker scribbles, equations he called future genius stuff. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, not looking up. I yanked the crystal out and slammed it on his desk. It pulsed once, casting a jagged blue shadow on the wall. Jaden's head snapped toward it, his glasses slipping down his nose. "Whoa, is that alien?" She dissolved Jaden into like glittery ash, and this thing was left. My voice cracked. "It talks. Kinda." He picked it up with a shaky hand, holding it to the window light. The symbols shifted, forming a string of triangles and circles. "Dude, this isn't a rock. It's a device. See these grooves? They're circuits." He pulled out his phone, opening a signal tracking app. "Let's see if it's emitting." The screen flashed red. A high-pitched whine screeched from the phone, making us both flinch. "Turn it off," I hissed. He fumbled, dropping the phone. The crystal's glow brightened, symbols now swirling like snakes. Jaden leaned closer, his breath fogging the surface. "It's reacting to you. Watch." He thrust it toward me, and the symbols snapped into a straight line, glowing fierce violet. "Why is it doing that?" I edged back. "Maybe you're the key, like a biometric lock." His eyes lit up. "What if it's a map? Or a message?" A text buzzed in my pocket. Mom's name popped up. "Where are you?" "Sheriff Voss is here. Says someone reported a UFO nearby. Come home now." I shoved the phone in Jaden's face. "He's at my house. He asked me last night if I saw anything weird." Jaden's grin vanished. He tossed the crystal into an old lunchbox and slammed the lid. "We need to hide this. My mom's on a Zoom call. Let's go to the treehouse." We sneaked into his backyard, where an oak tree loomed like a crooked giant. The crystal thumped against my chest inside my hoodie pocket, warm as a living thing. Halfway up the ladder, Jaden froze. "Your skateboard," he whispered. "Did you leave it at the ditch?" "No, I brought it home." "What?" He climbed down and flipped the board over. Beneath the grip tape, a tiny black device blinked red. "Tracker," he breathed. "Sheriff planted it. He knows you were there." The world tilted. I gripped the ladder to steady myself. "What do we do?" Jaden pried the tracker off with a pocket knife and crushed it under his heel. "Act normal. But this," he pointed to the lunchbox. "This stays secret. Trust no one. Not even who?" I pressed. He hesitated. "I don't know, but that lady warned you for a reason." Back in his room, we huddled over the crystal. It now showed a symbol like a compass, with a dot blinking over Willow's end. I shoved it into my backpack as Mrs. Cole's footsteps approached. "Harper, sweetie," she said, poking her head in. "Your mom called. Sheriff Voss wants to chat with you at home." Her smile didn't hide the worry in her eyes. Jaden grabbed my arm as I stood. "Don't tell him anything. Meet me at midnight." "The old mine." "Why the mine?" He glanced at the crystal's faint glow through my backpack. "Because that's where the map's pointing." Biking home, every passing car made my heart lurch. Sheriff Voss's cruiser sat in our driveway, engine idling. He leaned against the hood, arms crossed, staring at the sky. "Harper," he said too calmly. "Let's have a talk." The crystal pulsed hot against my back, as if screaming a warning only I could hear. Sheriff Voss's boots thudded against the porch steps as I followed him inside, the crystal in my backpack humming like a trapped wasp. Mom stood in the kitchen, her knuckles white around a coffee mug. Beside her loomed a woman in a sharp black suit, her hair pulled into a tight bun that looked painful. "Harper," Mom said too brightly, "this is Agent Marlowe. She's, helping the sheriff with wildlife sightings." Agent Marlowe's smile was all teeth. "We heard you were near Old Harlow's ditch last night. See anything unusual?" Her voice dripped honey, but her eyes drilled into me. I shrugged, clutching my backpack straps. "Just raccoons." The sheriff leaned against the fridge, his gaze sliding to my muddy sneakers. "Funny. Our sensors picked up an energy spike in that area. You sure you didn't find anything? A rock, maybe? Shiny? Alive?" The crystal pulsed hot against my back. I forced a laugh. You think I'd play with a radioactive rock? Agent Marlowe stepped closer, her perfume smelling like chemical flowers. This isn't a game, Harper. If you're hiding something, people could get hurt. Your mom. Your friend. My chest tightened. Are you threatening Jaden? Of course not. Mom cut in, shooting Agent Marlowe a glare. They're just doing their jobs. The sheriff pushed off the fridge, pulling a photo from his pocket. It showed the ditch, scorched earth in a perfect circle, just where the alien woman had lain. This wasn't raccoons, he said softly. You're in over your head, kid. A sudden buzz erupted from my backpack. The crystal's hum climbed to a fever pitch, vibrating the zipper. Agent Marlowe's head snapped toward it. What's in the bag? She demanded. Textbooks, I blurted, edging toward the stairs. Heavy ones. Mom stepped between us, her voice shaking. I think you've asked enough questions. The sheriff held up a hand, silencing Agent Marlowe. We'll be watching Harper, he said, tipping his hat. Night's darker out here than you think. They left, but not before Agent Marlowe slid a small device from her pocket and pressed it under our doorframe. I waited until their car vanished down the road before sprinting upstairs and dumping the backpack onto my bed. The crystal glowed angrily, symbols flashing red. What's wrong with you? I hissed. It flickered, projecting a hologram, a map of Willow's End with a pulsing dot over the abandoned mine. A raspy voice echoed in my skull. The alien woman's final warning. They lie. Trust the stars. That night, I Googled Sheriff Voss Willow's End until my eyes blurred. Buried in a decade-old news article was a photo of him at a military base, shaking hands with a man in a lab coat. The caption read, Local sheriff collaborates on defense project. A text buzzed, Jaden. Found something. Sheriff's car parked at the mine every Friday. Like clockwork. I stared at the hologram. The mine's dot blinked faster, as if counting down. Downstairs, Mom argued with someone on the phone, her voice a strained whisper. Not part of the deal. She's just a kid. Creeping to the window, I spotted a black sedan parked down the street. Agent Marlowe's silhouette glowed in the moonlight, watching our house. The crystal's hum sharpened into a shriek. I clamped it in my fist, and the noise stopped. Symbols rearranged into a single phrase. Find me before they do. Outside, a coyote howled. Somewhere in the desert, the mine's secrets waited, and so did the truth about Sheriff Voss. But as I crawled into bed, one thought gnawed at me. Why did Mom say deal? The tracker under the doorframe beeped once, green light blinking. Click. It was live. The next morning, Jaden's desk sat empty. Mrs. Cole claimed he had the flu, but her hands wouldn't stop fidgeting with her necklace. He's sleeping, she said, blocking the stairs. Can't have visitors. I forced a smile. Tell him I brought his homework. She hesitated, then took the papers. Behind her, Jaden's bedroom door creaked open, a sliver of darkness. No coughs, no shuffling, just silence. The crystal burned in my pocket as I pedaled to the Willow's End Library, its sandstone walls squat and grim. The librarian, Ms. Peabody, peered over her cat-eye glasses. Looking for something specific, dear? Just a book on rocks. Her smile tightened. Third aisle. Geology. The shelves loomed like prison bars. I found unexplained phenomena of the southwest wedged between meteorology for dummies and a dusty Bible. The crystal flared as I flipped to a dog-eared page, a photo of a black crystal, jagged as mine, labeled recovered from 1987 UFO crash site, Willow's End Mine. A note was scrawled in red ink. They lie. Trust the stars. Find what you need. Ms. Peabody materialized behind me, making me yelp. Nope. Just rocks are boring. I shoved the book back. Her gaze dropped to my pocket, where the crystal's glow seeped through the fabric. Curious things, rocks, she murmured. Sometimes they listen. I bolted outside, heart racing. The sheriff's cruiser idled across the street. Agent Marlowe leaned against it, smirking as she scrolled her phone. Buzz. A text from Jaden's number, still feverish. Talk later. But Jaden never used punctuation. The crystal pulsed, hot and urgent. I ducked into an alley and pulled it out. Symbols swirled into a new message. They have him. No. he whispered. The sheriff's car engine revved. I ran, cutting through backyards until I reached the old oak tree. Jaden's treehouse ladder was snapped, the wood splintered. Inside, his drone lay shattered, a single green wire dangling like a severed vein. Looking for something? He spoon. Sheriff Voss stood below, hat shadowing his eyes. Agent Marlowe emerged from the bushes, holding Jaden's NASA hoodie. Found us near the mine, she said, tossing it at my feet. Funny place for a sick kid to wander. The sheriff stepped closer. You're going to tell us where the crystal is. Where your friend's flu might get worse. The crystal vibrated a low growl on my palm. I gripped it tighter. I don't know what you're talking about. Agent Marlowe lunged, but I ducked, sprinting into the woods. Twigs lashed my face as their shouts faded. Behind a thorny thicket, I crouched, gasping. The crystal's glow revealed a hidden compartment in Jaden's hoodie, a USB drive taped inside. Back home, I plugged it into my laptop. Grainy drone footage played. Sheriff Voss and Agent Marlowe loading metal crates into the mine. A figure struggled between them. Jaden, gagged and furious. They took you. I choked. The video ended with a close-up of a crate's label, Project Stellar. Classified. The crystal's hum sharpened. Symbols morphed into a countdown. 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. Midnight. Mom's voice drifted upstairs. Can't keep her safe forever. A man's voice growled. You knew the rules. I crept to the landing. Mom stood with Agent Marlowe, clutching a faded photo. She's just a child, Mom pleaded. She's a liability. The photo fluttered to the floor as they left. I snatched it. Mom, younger, arm in arm with the silver-haired alien woman. Scrawled on the back, Sisters in the Stars. The crystal blazed, searing my hand. 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 30 seconds. I stuffed the photo into my backpack. The mine's dark mouth waited, and so did Jaden. But as I slipped out the window, a shadow detached from the trees. Sheriff Voss. Going somewhere, he drawled, clicking a flashlight on. The countdown in my pocket pulsed like a heartbeat. 23 hours, 58 minutes, and 17 seconds. The sheriff's flashlight beam sliced through the dark, pinning me like a bug. I bolted, vaulting over Mrs. Carter's fence as a shout tore through the night. Stop her. Gravel sprayed under my shoes as I cut through the junkyard, the crystal's countdown burning through my jeans. 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 42 seconds. The mine's entrance loomed ahead, a jagged mouth in the cliffside. I ducked behind a rusted pickup, breath sawing in my throat. You can't outrun them, Harper. I whirled. Jaden's voice, but it came from the crystal. Its surface flickered, projecting a hologram of his face, pale and bruised. They're using the mine to block signals. Get to the east tunnel. There's a ugh. The image dissolved into static. Jaden, I hissed. No response. The crystal's glow sharpened, pointing toward a crack in the mine wall. I squeezed through, the air reeking of damp and metal. Deep inside, fluorescent lights buzzed behind a steel door marked restricted. Voices echoed. Extract the data before the deadline, Sheriff Voss snapped. The girl's got the crystal, Agent Marlowe replied. Without it, the portal won't stabilize. Portal? I pressed against the door as it creaked open. A lab sprawled beneath the mine. Computers with cracked screens, cages with claw marks, and at the center, a massive ring of black stone humming with energy. Jaden sat slumped in a glass cell, his NASA hoodie torn. Our eyes met. He mouthed, "Go." Too late. The sheriff's hand clamped my shoulder. Brave little idiot, aren't you? I elbowed him, ducking as Agent Marlowe lunged. The crystal flared, its light blinding them. Grab it, Marlowe shrieked. I dove behind a server rack, the crystal now scorching hot. Symbols blazed. 23 hours, 54 minutes, and 11 seconds. Jaden pounded the glass, pointing to a vent above me. Climb, he yelled. I scrambled up, the sheriff's fingers grazing my ankle. The vent shaft trembled as the stone ring's hum deepened, sparks crackling across its surface. Below, Agent Marlowe typed frantically at a console. The gateway's destabilizing. We need the crystal now. The shaft opened into a control room. Screens showed security feeds. Mom arguing with a figure in a hooded cloak, their face pixelated. The crystal pulsed, syncing with the cloaked figure's pendant. They lie. The alien woman's voice echoed in my skull. I smashed a fire extinguisher into the control panel. Alarms wailed. The stone ring sputtered, a vortex swirling inside it. Sheriff Voss burst into the room, his skin rippling like water. "You ruin everything," he roared, his voice guttural wrong. The crystal's countdown hit 23 hours and 52 minutes. It leapt from my hand, embedding into the control panel. The vortex flared, sucking papers and tools into its maw. "Harper, run!" Jaden's voice crackled over an intercom. I leapt from the vent, grabbing his hand as his cell door shuttered open. We sprinted past the sheriff, now half transformed, scales erupting from his neck, eyes blazing yellow. "The ring's gonna blow," Jaden yelled. We tumbled into the tunnels as the mine shuddered, the explosion's heat licking our backs. Outside, the night sky pulsed with aurora-like light. Jaden gripped my arm, breathless. "The crystal, it's a key. They're trying to open a door for them." A shadow moved in the trees. The cloaked figure emerged, lowering their hood. "Mom." Her pendant matched the crystal. "Harper," she whispered, tears glinting. "I try to protect you." The ground trembled. Somewhere, the vortex roared to life, and the sheriff's inhuman screech tore through the night. Mom's pendant glowed like a tiny star, its light matching the crystal's pulse in my hand. Behind us, the mine groaned, debris crashing as Sheriff Voss's snarling voice echoed. "You lied to me," I shouted, backing away. "You're one of them." "No, I'm half you," Mom pleaded, clutching the pendant. "My sister, the woman you met, she was fully alien. I was born here, Harper. I hid to protect us." Jaden grabbed my arm. "We gotta move. The sheriff's not human anymore." A guttural roar split the air. Sheriff Voss crawled from the mine's wreckage, his body warped, scales, claws, eyes like molten gold. "Give me the crystal." His words slurred, voice doubling, like two creatures speaking at once. Mom stepped between us, her hands raised. "Run to the house. There's a safe room." The sheriff lunged, swiping her aside. She hit the ground, her pendant skidding into the dirt. "Mom!" I screamed. The crystal blazed, shooting a beam of light that seared the sheriff's arm. He howled, retreating into the shadows. "Go!" Mom coughed, blood on her lip. "The crystal's a weapon. Use it together." Jaden yanked me toward the woods. "Your house now." We sprinted, the sheriff's footsteps crushing brush behind us. The crystal's light guided us, slicing through the dark like a beacon. Bursting into the house, I slammed the door and locked it. "Safe room where?" Jaden panted. "Basement." I shoved aside a rug, revealing a hatch. We tumbled down as the front door splintered. The safe room walls were lined with strange symbols, like the ones on the crystal. Mom's voice echoed from a dusty speaker. "Harper, if you're hearing this, I'm sorry. The truth is, a crash upstairs cut her off." The sheriff's claws scraped the hatch. "Finish the message," Jaden urged, frantically tapping the crystal against the symbols. The walls flickered, projecting a hologram. Mom, years younger, holding a baby me, beside the silver-haired alien woman. "Your aunt risked everything to send the crystal here," Mom's recording said. "It's a weapon and a key. The sheriff species wants to invade, but others want peace. Use the crystal to call them." The hatch hinges screamed. Sheriff Voss's clawed hand pried it open. "Do something," Jaden yelled. I slammed the crystal into a symbol on the wall. Light erupted, throwing the sheriff back. The hologram shifted, showing stars, a map to another galaxy. "They're coming," the recording whispered. "The signal will reach both sides. You'll have to choose." The sheriff leapt into the room, swiping the crystal from my grip. It clattered across the floor, its light dying. "Pathetic," he sneered, his form flickering between human and monster. "Your heroes won't save you. This planet's ours." Jaden lunged for the crystal, but the sheriff kicked him into the wall. "Stop!" I screamed. Mom's pendant suddenly glowed in my pocket. I threw it at the sheriff. It struck his chest, sizzling like water on fire. He staggered, howling. "Now, Harper!" Jaden tossed me the crystal. I smashed it against the pendant. The blast threw us against the wall. Light engulfed the sheriff, his screams echoing as his body disintegrated. When the glare faded, only ash remained. The crystal, now fused with the pendant, hummed softly. A hologram spread across the ceiling, countless stars, with a pulsing dot heading toward Earth. Jaden groaned, clutching his ribs. "What's that?" "Reinforcements," I whispered. From both sides. Outside, helicopters thundered overhead. Agent Marlowe's voice crackled from a police radio. "Contain the area." The signals exposed us. Mom stumbled down the stairs, her face bruised but fierce. "They're here, the good and the bad. We have to be ready." The crystal's light dimmed, its job done. But in the silence, a new sound crept in, a low, metallic whine from the sky. "They're already here." The metallic whine crescendoed into a roar, shaking the walls as we stumbled outside. Above us, the sky split. A massive silver ship descended, its hull rippling like liquid, while smaller, jagged black crafts swarmed around it like wasps. "Which ones are the good guys?" Jaden yelled over the noise. Mom shielded her eyes. "The silver ship. They're the Star Seekers, your aunt's people. The others, they're the Void Scales. The ones who killed her." Agent Marlowe's black sedan skidded into our driveway. She leapt out, aiming a strange, glowing rifle at the sky. "Get back inside," she barked. "This is a Federal." A beam of violet light struck the ground beside her, carving a smoldering trench. She dove behind the car as the silver ship's ramp lowered. A figure emerged, tall, with silver hair and glowing violet eyes. My aunt's twin. "Harper," the alien woman called, her voice echoing like wind chimes. "We heard your call." The Void Scale ships fired, blasts screaming toward us. The Star Seeker raised her hand, deflecting them with a shimmering force field. "The crystal chose you," she said, locking eyes with me. "You must decide, fight with us, or let this world fall." Agent Marlowe fired her rifle at the Void Scales. "Kid, whatever you're doing, do it now." I gripped the crystal, now warm and humming. "Why me?" "Because you're both," Mom said, tears streaming. "Human and Star Seeker. The crystal responds to your bloodline." Jaden gaped. "You're like space royalty?" A Void Scale blast shook the ground, knocking us to our knees. The Star Seeker's force field flickered. "They'll overwhelm us," she shouted. I closed my eyes, the crystal's energy surging up my arm. Images flooded my mind. The sheriff's sneer, Jaden's grin, Mom's photo with her sister. "Trust the stars," my aunt's voice whispered. I thrust the crystal skyward. "We fight." A pulse of light exploded from the crystal, shattering the Void Scale ship's weapons. The Star Seekers cheered in a language that buzzed like music, their ship firing golden beams that tore through the Black Fleet. Agent Marlowe stared, her rifle slack. "Holy!" The last Void Scale ship fled into the clouds as the Star Seeker approached me. "Your mother hid you well, Harper Quinn. But the war isn't over." She pressed a hand to my forehead. Symbols flared on my skin before fading. "When you're ready, we'll be waiting." Their ship vanished in a flash, leaving only a star twinkling where it had been. Agent Marlowe exhaled sharply. "This never happened." "Got it." She tossed Mama Com's device. "But if they come back, call me first." As her sedan peeled away, Jaden hooped. "We just want a space war. This is the coolest thing ever." Mom hugged me tight. "I'm sorry I kept the truth from you." "Your aunt, she'd be proud." I looked up at the stars, the crystal now dormant in my hand. "What happens now?" Jaden slung an arm over my shoulder. "Now we prep for round 2, and maybe get a better treehouse." We laughed, but the night felt heavier somehow, full of secrets and distant battles. The sheriff's ashes swirled in the wind. The mine's ruins creaked, and far above, the new star winked. As we walked inside, Mom squeezed my hand. "Whatever comes, we face it together." But when I glanced back, the star pulsed once, a promise or a warning. Somewhere, the The void scales were regrouping, and the star seekers were watching. The crystal signal alerted both the star seekers, Harper's alien allies, and the void scales' enemy forces. Sheriff Voss was a void scale spy who'd infiltrated Earth decades ago. Harper's hybrid lineage makes her the key to the coming war, a war that's only just begun. Here is the story ends. If you enjoyed and want to watch more thrilling sci-fi adventures, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Dive into epic battles, explore distant galaxies, and join brave heroes as they fight for survival against impossible odds. Let us know in comments if you want next chapters to publish soon. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and become part of the journey. Together, we'll keep the last light burning. Subscribe now and let the adventure continue.